But let's move on to what I hope is going to be a crazy match as well, as two of our best performers from Season 1 are going head-to-head right now, as it's going to be Alutemu versus Staz coming up, so we can check out the players, and we can kind of just go over, you know, not only what they've done, but what they've brought, because I can see from Alutemu the Warrior, the Quest Druid, the Zoo with one Sea Giant in there, fine, and the Priest, Derek, which is Alutemu the only Priest player in it?
I think we've got 2 Priests. I'm not sure who the other player was, but I saw in the statistics we have 2 Priest players overall, which is, to me at least, a little surprising, because we obviously, again, as I said, saw the nerf to extra arms, which a lot of players correctly predicted was a big hit to the deck. That was the strongest thing you could do, was 1 drop on 1, extra arms on 2. You got it there?
Yeah. Just getting it how I like it, okay? I should have had this prepared beforehand, but I'd like to just go with the flow.
Yeah, you're taking it loosey-goosey. Yep. However, as I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted...
He interrupted himself! I was sat here quietly.
You can't just be rustling, and then when I mention it, you're like, oh, you interrupted yourself, didn't you?
I pulled a piece of paper out. You started talking to me.
I know, I'm sorry. That was my fault. The Priest,
Carry on before I was rudely
interrupted. Still quite a strong deck, is the point I was trying to make. The real power of the deck, I think, while the extra arms was the most obvious and most egregious part of that deck, when you lost to it, it felt terrible. But I think it still just does some disgustingly powerful things. Like, if we just look even at the new cards that were added in with Saviors of Uldum, Amit and Psychopomp, even ignoring the injured Tolvin, is insane. Like, those cards are ridiculously high power level, way high above pretty much every other 4-cost card in the game. And I think it just still just has the capability to stomp the tempo decks by pulling ahead early on and healing up out of range. And it also has really good game against even decks like Warrior. I would say it's not even as bad as I originally thought it was.
Yeah, we can see the players now. The Druid shield from Alutemu and the Warlock ban. His Zoo is gone. And Staz is going to be shielding his Warrior and banning the Druid. Sorry, having his Druid banned, my apologies. But what do you make of this? Because Staz is running... Oh, yeah, Staz is running Quest Paladin. I forgot about that. I knew someone was. I just forgot it was Staz. So Staz kind of known to, I feel like, out of all of the players, do his own thing. And I don't mean his own thing as in him personally, just him and his practice group, but he brings some weird decks sometimes, and that's just true, but he also performs quite well. But I guess that's the trick, because looking at his lineup, Warrior and Hunter feel fine versus Zoo as far as I'm concerned, but I guess, like, one, he's had his Druid banned, but if his Paladin runs into Zoo, it might feel a little bit weird. But I don't know about you, but Paladin, I feel, is flying under the radar as a very scary deck.
I agree. I don't know about necessarily Quest Paladin. I honestly haven't played it myself. I've been playing other forms of Paladin with the Holy Wrath and kind of Jambray aggro hand Paladin, as it's been dubbed. But I fully agree. In a targeted strategy rather than a ladder deck, I think it's got a lot of potential, primarily against Warrior, right? Is the thinking where you have so much value in there. Undertaker as well. It's just pretty much impossible for the Warrior to overcome that value.
This deck is weird, though.
Right. What are we looking at?
So, I mean, basically, the problem you have with this deck is you have, if the Paladin draws, all right. Not even mind-blowing, but just all right. You have a relatively short window of opportunity to kill them.
Yeah.
Because if they survive, and then the second they duplicate a minion with, say, Reborn, Taunt, Divine Shield, Taunt, which they can give with their minions as well, exactly. It gets to the point where there's just too much. There are not many decks that can decide, okay, I can kill the big one. Okay, but they've made a 2/2. But if I kill that, it summons another one. Okay, but now it's their turn and they've copied it again. So they've got another one and I can't kill them both. And every single turn, they're just...
It's a lot.
It's like, you know, every zombie film. When they start off with a couple, you're all right, you just kill them easy. And then it's like 8 million. It's like, well, you can survive a bit longer, but you won't actually win. You won't actually win. And it's such a weird deck, because I feel like it can come very early, especially if the Paladin gets a decent draw. It means that the second they just copy an egg, the Mechano egg is a 2/2, so it can attack. If you kill the egg, they get an 8/8. If you don't kill the egg, they get another 2/2 that can attack, that can make an 8/8, and the game just ends. Because there's no real deck, apart from maybe Priest with their Plague, that can actually deal with a full Paladin board. It is silly, but we'll get to that maybe later on. Staz versus Alutemu, game number 1. Staz on his signature class is Hunter versus Alutemu on the Druid. And I feel like Alutemu pretty much has every class as a signature class because he plays so damn well.
Yeah, I would definitely say that at least last season, the Mage was the deck I enjoyed, as I've said so many times.
So last season, Derek.
Yeah, exactly. That was the deck I enjoyed watching him play the most. I enjoyed watching him play Priest in the first week of this season of Grandmasters as well. I think that style of deck, like where it's not necessarily a curve deck, but if you're smart, you can play it as such, like where it's kind of half combo, half curve deck. It's interesting. That seems to suit him very well. This Quest Druid, however, is very different.
Yeah, and I'll say, and I don't mean to offend other decks that people like, but
Too late.
Mage last season, Cyclone, Priest this season, extremely decision heavy and decision sort of punishing, right?
Yeah.
If you mess up, you probably lose.
Yeah, they were
if
tough.
you play it well, you probably just crush everyone.
Yeah.
And, you know, Hunter, I love Hunter, but Staz was playing a 1-drop on 1. He wants to play secrets and he wants to curve into his threats late game. You know, decks like Cyclone Mage and the current Priest don't really act like that, right? They normally act like, okay, well, if I do this, I get this. If I do that, I get that. All these decisions, if you make the wrong step, you actually get punished pretty hard.
Speaking of getting punished pretty hard, Alutemu here, for floating mana and not really doing anything for the first few turns, is being met with a really powerful series of turns for Staz. Good lord.
Okay, that rock, we've turned into robots.
I just got to speak staccato because it's so strong what's happening.
The benefit, though, of Alutemu doing this is that he has double Starfall,
Oh, yes.
Oasis Surger, and especially the Crystal Merchant is such a good card for this turn because when you're playing against this deck, you want to rush your opponent down, but you also don't want them to draw all the sick cards they get from turn 5/6 onwards that will lose you the game if they draw them. So it's a tough call. I think on average, it's just if you want to make me give an answer of what should you do 100% of the time, if I have to pick one, it would be attack face, you know, play aggressive. But it's tough because Staz is drawing an extra card most turns now. He can play bees to take down, you know, one of these minions.
Yeah.
Or he could just play his War Druid in either stealth, he can taunt it to buy some time. There is options, and as long as Alutemu just gets to his quest without being completely dead, there's, you know, he can heal 12, summon a 6/6 taunt. He can Starfall the board, summon a 3/4 taunt. You know, he can do so much.
I like Staz's play of going face there a lot, though. The Mark Shot was tempting before he picked up the Sandbinder. But the thing is that for Alutemu to clear this board, it very likely comes in the form of bees or an attack with maybe a swipe, I suppose. Either way, Snake Trap is activated, which is a nice wide board, allows Staz to just keep pushing the damage through to face. And I think, honestly, with Zephyrus in hand now, it's not ridiculous to assume that Staz will be able to kill Alutemu before Hidden Oasis comes down.
Yeah, Zephyrus is the key point in any deck that runs it, in that as well as it can be a nice tempo play sometimes, because you can get, you know, backstab. There's talks of in the Zoo versus Zoolander.
Yeah.
Zoolander should win because they have Zephyrus into their sack pack all the time.
Yeah.
But it normally is just a guaranteed lethal once you put your opponent in a certain position to exit, which is very powerful. And there's Hidden Oasis.
Okay, this gets interesting now, with Staz having a very healthy amount of damage on the board, and of course Zephyrus to offer Fireball perhaps later on. How much damage are we looking at here? If we were to see, what, 5/7 on board, 9/14.
Ooh.
With, of course, I'm talking about...
Do you have kill?
Yeah, I was looking at Kill Command Hero Power this turn.
I was looking... Yeah, no, that's right, isn't it?
Or is he just going Savage Roll
Wait,
this turn? How much damage
Savage
is Savage Roll?
just can't do 21. It cannot. I refuse.
I mean, he could just pretty much close out the game if it doesn't deliver lethal,
It's
right?
15, so he needs to do 6 next turn. But the problem is, Hidden Oasis is insane.
With an Innovate, it's not playable next turn.
Wait, yeah, that's true. That's true.
And what if he goes Innovate Hidden Oasis?
He's just dead.
He is just dead. But even if it was Innovate Hidden
Yeah,
Oasis,
yeah,
look
yeah.
at the damage that Staz has on board.
Oh yeah, but all I mean is there's what? There's 5, 7, there's 8 damage.
Yeah.
Because you trade off 2 1/1, say, or it could trade into the Zephyrus. And then it is a 6/6 taunt, and you've healed for 12,
Good
which
point.
would, you know,
Yeah,
put
yeah.
you up. What I'm saying is, it's
That
not
would
going to work
keep them in
now,
the game.
but a lot of the time, things look dicey as this Druid deck,
You
but if
pull-
you drop Hidden Oasis against aggro
Yeah, yeah.
deck, you often win because you're a draw away from a Ferocious Howl then, and so on, and quickly you can heal / armor all the way back up to full. But nice play from Staz. I didn't think about the Savage Draw because I was more thinking kill command hero power Zephyrus Fireball.
That's what I was thinking as
well. But there are obviously many ways, and technically, I guess, this gave him more damage than a Fireball.
Yeah, this was a very nice way to go around it, not necessarily quite so obvious. And this is where Zephyrus, you know, it takes skill to be able to use it to get the perfect card at the perfect time as well.
It's going to be game number 1. Both these players 1-1 so far in their first weekend of Grandmasters, so Staz taking a lead against Alutemu 1-0 with a very quick Hunter versus Druid, but this may look like, oh, it's so silly, like, Druid just died, the deck's trash. Like, the deck has to have a weakness. If it didn't just die in the early game, it would just be the best deck that Hearthstone has ever seen, easily. So that is the weakness, and I believe that it's one of the things, again, I like, and I've harped on to you specifically about it, off camera, but the Malygos Shaman that the Malygos Druid that Shaxi submitted last week had Doomsayers, which is, I feel, just a great card. It like tides you over a whole turn. Drop it on turn 2, on 3. You know, it can really help versus some of these aggro matchups. Combined with Wrath and Swipe, it can help you to just get to that turn 5 and 6 to make you a little bit more stable. But that was just game number 1. We've got game number 2 coming up shortly. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with some more Hearthstone Grandmasters.
Rising again, darker than they've ever been. As evil descends from the skies, the world cries out, how will we survive? Out of the hall of explorers, and up from the dusty tombs, they grab their whips and fedoras. These legends of the past know exactly what to do. There might be magic monsters, mummies in the market, mysticism. There should be scorching deserts, adventure, monster of narcissism. High stakes think annihilation, obliteration of civilization. Now is the time to be brave. Evil's come to enslave, but this league's gonna save. Oh,
We've got a spicy match up for you coming right now. It is going to be the Paladin versus the Priest between Staz and Alutemu. And that might not sound so spicy. Paladin deck's not really known for the spice. Don't know why I keep saying spice. But Priest is the, the Psychopomp, the Inner Fire Divine Spirit Priest we've kind of got a good handle on so far.
Yeah.
The Paladin is Quest Paladin. The madness never ends, Derek.
This is muy picante. I quite agree. The Quest Paladin, I think, is going to be in with a little bit of a tough time here, though, I would say. I'm personally not a real acolyte of this new Quest Paladin deck. I've yet to see it perform very well. Most of the times I've been playing against it, I've got to be honest, it has done very, very poorly indeed. And I think one of the main reasons it does so is because it has to function too rigidly in the way it plays out. It's very often playing a card a turn, and the cards you're playing each turn are reasonably powerful, but they're not especially strong. It's usually just vanilla or neutral reborn minions, which are fairly strong. They can get the job done, but they're not incredibly powerful. And I think because of that, Priest will be able to take advantage of that by going for these very, very powerful plays early on.
But, okay.
Okay, well, Crystology is Crystology, right?
Yeah,
in any deck you play, it's
so
insane.
honestly, I am not even winding you up, right?
Yes.
I was literally going to say, but the deck does run Crystology. And I'm not even joking, before we even saw it in the hand, because that card alone, if you have cards to draw with it, is good. It's so good.
It's insane. It's beyond ridiculous.
And this hand is ridiculous.
On both sides.
I will say, I think if both players have the nutty hands, the Priest probably wins. But the second Staz can get a sticky taunt minion, I don't know what Alutemu actually does to ever get through them, because he'll be making one extra taunt minion every single turn.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go for the Candle Taker just to have something that is not guaranteed to kill off this Tolve with heals, of course, but guaranteed to put a dent in it.
So we could see trade with the Tolve and then Pyromancer topsy-turvy the Pyromancer. It's not ideal, but it does mean that the Cleric is left alive. The alternative to that obviously just being heal up the Tolve.
Yeah, what if you heal and just don't trade?
Sure. Yeah.
Because this is the tough part with this Paladin. It's so unlike you, I've been stomped by this Paladin multiple times.
Right.
And the problem is, I never feel like I know what to do, because that minion is horrible to deal with, isn't it? It's just horrible, right? Unless you have a silence.
Yeah, I guess
it's
so.
a 3/2 that 3 attack, fairly solid in Hearthstone right now. You have to kill it twice, which is annoying.
It is annoying.
You know there's something just as annoying going to come down next to it, and also, if you kill it, it's wasted time. And I feel like the more time you give Paladin, the more time you let him get cooking with the quest.
Yeah. I can very much respect this as well.
Yeah, I like just not killing the thing.
This is, again, one of the big downsides of the Paladin deck, is, again, it is rigid in the way it functions. It cannot be flexible and go with some removal options. It pretty much just plays out a minion every turn. There's a couple of exceptions to that, obviously, with 2 subdues in the deck. The Consecrations as well, that give you a little bit of ability to swing the board back in your favor.
Also, what's going to be interesting is the... let me just double check the name before I mess it up. Yeah, the Ancestral Guardian. It's a 4/2, 4 mana. It's in hand, you can see there in the middle. It has Lifesteal and Reborn as a 4/2. Might sound not that great, but 4 attack Lifesteal and it has Reborn.
Yeah.
It's insane, because what it can do is it's twofold against Priest, I feel. Is the attack reduces the health down quite a lot of a minion, so if it's pre-Inner Fire, that's a problem, it needs healing. And its attack also pushes your health further out of range of being killed from something out of the priest's hand. So Staz is quickly edging towards some problematic minions now. And it's nutty versus aggro with a quest if you can ever get it down, but that's a different conversation.
Alutemu has a pretty nutty turn here, though, if we're talking about powerful turns. Like, heal the Tolve, value trade the one that still has Reborn, and Pyromancer swap your Tolve. It's like a pretty nice way to swing things back in favor of Alutemu.
But he would lose his Tolve then, right?
Wait, he topsy-turvy the Tolve to swap its attack and health, right? Takes the value trade.
Oh, sure. Sorry, yeah.
It's a little bit.
For some reason, I thought the spell would go off before the change happened, but I'm just being absolutely ridiculous. But look look at this, he's just putting into it though. It's a lot of resources. It's going to be good if Alutemu can get a heal next turn.
It is, or if his cleric doesn't just die on this turn.
Yeah.
It looks like it shall be. Yeah.
I do like the Witchwood Piper in this deck, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, I just like having something that I can put on the board that draws something else that's probably a good card.
Yeah.
Very similar. Huntrace running Bwam Samdi in his priest list for GM this week. That's going to be later on. Oh no, he's not playing today, he's playing tomorrow. But he runs Bwam Samdi to draw 1-drops. He plays like 6 1-drops in the deck.
Yeah.
So he uses that as like a late game amount of stuff, which priest often finds itself doing. I'm just going to refill my hand with stuff and then get going again.
I mean, Huntrace plays effectively 8 1-drops with the beaming sidekicks, the light wardens, the clerics, and the powered shields.
Oh, and the shields, yeah.
And I guess the inner
only
fires
draws minions
as well.
though.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. And now, is he going to commit to the Guardian? Also, those guys are super annoying, the micro mummies. The first time,
They're annoying.
but when you make an army of them.
I guess so.
Honestly though, the first time I played against this deck,
Yeah.
I did not honestly realize that micro mummy was a mech. Because Ziliax
Oh,
came down on it, and then it got copied, and I was like,
Hold up.
yes. I was upset. I lost that game because I just didn't realize it was
Yeah.
a mech for some reason.
Your
I was like,
presence
it's got reborn
offends me.
and it's a mech.
Now I think we might be
that's a
approaching
good card.
the situation where Alutemu can really swing things in his favor here. He has a little bit more mana to work with. He found the second cleric, obviously with the Witchwood Piper, which is very, very important.
And all these arms draws, along with them costing more mana, is a little bit too much to hold here for Alutemu.
True.
And you do see the impact, right? The card definitely still good, but
So much worse.
last week, this could have been extra arms,
This would
extra
have been
arms,
game over.
hero power.
Yeah.
You know, like the game could have, draw a card as well as make a strong turn.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been close, really, to be honest. Now we can see Silence, value trade with the Cleric, and then Ritualist seems pretty strong to me.
The silence has to happen.
Yeah.
Also as well, because there are very cheap reborn minions in this Paladin deck, it's not like, oh, he's not going to proc the quest next turn. Like, Staz could easily play the proc the quest and play it, and use the hero power next turn if our team is not careful, so I very much like getting that tricky minion out of the way.
Loving the injured Tolviz cosplay as belligerent gnome right now. Very, very strong.
And now here's the fear factor, isn't it? When Priest can hold the board. The problem now is it's turn 6 and Staz hasn't got the quest off.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't drawn.
Well, he's drawn enough. He could play the 2 remaining in hand. It's just it's not good enough is the problem.
Yeah.
He'd just die.
I think one of the issues is he didn't get any of the cheaper ones early enough, right?
Yes.
He went into the 3-drops instead of the 2 and 1-drops, and if he could have gotten there a little bit quicker, it would have looked a little bit nicer. But that's the way the deck draws sometimes, and, and you've got to be able to deal with it.
You say that. I don't even know if I agree with that, though, because if he'd drawn... like all the cheap ones have 1 attack, right? It's Micro Mummy, Temple Berserker, and Mermy, all of which would have been value traded by the Cleric and healed back up. They would have been terrible in that situation.
True, but then he could have played the Ancestral guy this turn and a hero power, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just without the quest getting procced early enough, your deck's terrible. Your deck's just bad egg Paladin.
It's true.
So
Yeah.
that is priority number 1.
And he does manage to get the damage, which is going to set up for, to be fair, some pretty powerful things. This turn already gets a nice board presence. Next turn, Ziliax, and then copy that again for some extra healing.
I think he should go for
assuming
the...
he survives, of course, which he won't.
He should have gone for the mech. He gives him more chance of landing Ziliax. It doesn't matter,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I
it
agree.
really doesn't matter now. It's like heavily doesn't matter.
Whew. Yeah, that is one big old Cleric smacking Staz directly in the head, bringing the series to 1 game apiece. This is why I wanted to see more of the combo priest, even with having drawn both copies of a nerf extra heart. It still is just looking very, very strong there. Obviously, he drew the 2 highest win rate mulligan cards in Cleric and Tolvir into play on curve, but I still think even factoring that in, it's not ridiculous to expect for that to happen, and I think it just makes
mulligan for it.
Exactly. It makes overall for a very consistent deck because the whole deck is so cheap, and I think it's just fairly well positioned at the moment because the tempo decks that we're seeing at the moment that fight for board early on are high on minions but low on answers. I find that Rogue a lot of the time can remove all of the priest minions due to cards like Backstab, Deadly Poison, and Eviscerate. However, decks like Zoo, even like the Highlander Hunter as well, I find can struggle a little bit to actually remove those minions consistently enough.
Yeah, and now the question really becomes as we go into game number 3. Who's queuing what? Because Staz has Paladin, Alutemu has Warrior and Druid, and Staz has his Hunter as well, right?
Right.
No,
he won with it.
No,
he
sorry,
won with
Staz has his Warrior.
His Warrior and his Paladin.
So... Okay, so we've got Druid versus Paladin, sorry, I was just getting told. I was going to say,
yes,
if I was Staz, I would probably go Paladin.
Yeah.
Because the Warrior, slow matchup, you can get cooking pretty easily with that. But also as well, if he's thinking that he might be against Druid, well, Druid passes for 5 turns. So imagine if both players start with their quest, but the Paladin has minions as well. It's not like Druid Mirror, where you both start the game on turn 5 and it's even. Yeah, you just trade evenly across. If you've already got like an army of sticky minions, then you should be able to just take that one step ahead. So we'll see what happens here. I'm glad to see Paladin again, just because I think it's a kind of weird deck. I don't think we've had a deck really function like this in Hearthstone before. And maybe we do get to see this Endless Army.
I hope we will. I think this could be a much closer matchup than we saw with the Shaman up against the Druid. Because, again, the thing that Druid really struggles with at the moment, well, the 2 things actually, I should say. One is early aggression, just dominating the board early on where they can't really answer it. The second is large minions, very, very tall singular minions. This Paladin can kind of do both of those things if it gets the right draw. Early on we're looking at a Temple Berserker could be very strong, even just a Candle Taker for 3 attack. It gets the ball rolling at least.
It's a 3-2 twice. How does Druid do that without already being ahead? And already the Mermy, the Annoyer module is a card that not going to be kept in the mulligan, but again, if that was drawn a little bit earlier, maybe last game, it would have helped a little bit. But, we'll get to see what's cooking here because Staz just wants anything he can play before turn 5, and that'll proc his quest.
Alutemu here on the other side on the Druid with already a pretty reasonable hand. On the coin, Oasis Surger ready to go. He needs to think a little bit more carefully about how his answers need to actually stack up against what Staz is going to be throwing down. And because of that, he ends up throwing away the Oasis Surger, saying, you know what, I need to look for more answers early on.
I think he
and
would...
I don't know if I agree with that.
I think... it's tough, because if you got Crystal Merchant, it's insane versus Paladin. And is it worth it? That's the question. Is it worth to mulligan a good card for an insane card? Like, and he's on the coin, so he can accelerate as well. So maybe he should have kept the Surger, yeah.
I think the thinking he may be going for is that if you look at actually in the real world rather than hypothetically, how does it stack up against what the Paladin is throwing down? Which is stuff like, as you were saying, the Ancestral Guardian, a 4-2 Reborn. Oasis Surgers aren't that good against that. They're just going to be smacking most of their health into it just to clear off this one minion. Do you think you should probably go with the Oasis Surger this time, though?
Oh, I don't know. So, honestly...
Keeper?
Right, so yesterday on Omnistone, they were talking about what cards would you bring back to the game, or back into Standard. Firebat, naturalized, because Druid has no way to remove a minion. Just 0. It just doesn't really exist. So I was just wondering, the way Staz can win this game is if he just sticks an egg, and then Alutemu just loses. And maybe, because also if you silence... the hero power directly copies a minion, it will copy effects. If you silence it, the minion it will copy into is just a 2-2, which is terrible compared to a 2-2 egg, for example. So it'll be a huge deal. He did go for the Surger, and don't get me wrong, Surger's potentially the best card in the deck. So I'm never going to be too upset, but I think there was definitely merit to consider the Keeper.
I fully agree. I think the thing is, though, that with... when you factor in how it actually works with the hero power is, if they're playing out the mechanical well, they're probably going to be hero powering it on the same turn, or at least a lot of the time. And if they're not, just silencing it is not good enough, whereas summoning 2 5/5s and the Fluke in hand I think is what really pushes it over the edge. I agree it was close, but I like it from his decision.
So now Staz will, you know, obviously got the Bone Wraith down. You just want to play these minions as quick as possible. Yep. But this Christology is going to be the clutch because he just wants stuff to just throw out as quickly as possible, especially because Alutemu got the quest and the turn early, so to speak, because he could coin out.
Is that a double Christology? Oh, yes, it is. Wow, this is a lot of draw now for Staz, which means we could be looking at quest completion very, very soon indeed.
And he could draw. Oh no, he's already played Mermy, so he can't do it this
quite
turn.
yet. But next turn, we're looking at quest completion, which is pretty strong. Assuming he draws a reborn here, which is pretty much guaranteed.
Yeah, all his minions are reborn. 1 attacks, right?
Yeah, I think so. One of the reasons why, again, Christology is just so nuts in every kind of Paladin deck you play. You can just always choose out exactly what you need.
So interesting to me.
Would you have prioritized the Micro Mummy there?
Both times now, I think I would have utilized Micro Mummy more than Staz is. Maybe Staz wants to copy it,
I think
which is why he's doing it like this. But I was just thinking, the weird conundrum you put your opponent, or give your opponent with this Paladin deck is you put a priority target down that's very hard to kill.
Yeah.
And then if they can't get to it, you make it worse. And then you make it worse.
Right.
And to me, the Mummy is more of a frustration to Alutemu than the 1/2, the Berserker, but
I think this is player
I
and
guess
start.
it doesn't matter.
Is the point of this strategy, is that if Starfall comes down, it's at 3 attacks and it's all damage.
Well, and now we can kind of say go on the game.
Yeah, Micro Mummy this turn, or either of them on this turn, then a Hero Power. Feels just like a pretty good way to get things rolling. Staz does need to think about how he wants Kangor's Endless Army to function now, because that will obviously resurrect 3 mechs with their magnetic effects still kept intact. So he wants to make basically the 3 single strongest mechs he can, which maybe is a reason why he'll hold back on the Micro Mummy entirely to resurrect Mechanical Whelp, Ziliax, and Mechanical Dragon.
Well, he'll want Ziliax attached, right?
If he can, ideally.
Yeah. Which is, again, why I was thinking if you get the mummies down and copy it next turn and so on and so on.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't have Ziliax in hand at that point.
Yeah. Tough. Staz taking his time. Definitely tricky because he also has to watch that Alutemu just play another Surger and he loses the game, which is a very real thing that happens. A lot of the time in this deck, no matter how fancy you might get, you just hit them in the face every turn for 10 with Surges. Let's see where the copy goes, because the copy definitely changes things with Kangor's in hand.
It does.
Go 2.
And now this means that he will have had 4 Micro Mummies die if both of these end up dying.
It's so
which
unlikely.
Is horrendous for Kangor's.
It's so unlikely though, right?
What's so unlikely?
4 of them dying? They died twice this turn?
Yeah, but he wouldn't play Kangor's next turn, right? He's not going to play Kangor's for a few turns.
No, but then he can change the numbers, right? Because what he can do is he can then like Ziliax Hero Power it, so he creates 2 of the mummies with Ziliax on them.
He can make it better, but this still waters down his odds, is the point I'm making.
I like it.
Really?
Because it almost guarantees he can Ziliax and then copy it. So he gets a 4,
that is the
4/4 or a 4/3 with Divine Shield, Taunt, and Rush.
Yeah.
And then a 2 and then a 2/2 with the same that then can death rattle. I don't know. Because also as well, when this comes back from Kangor, it comes back with Reborn.
Yes, yeah.
Because even if the second one dies, it's still it's still the core minion.
Right.
It's not a different named minion.
Right, and obviously that's nice. It's just much rather have the whelp.
Oh, 100%. I just don't know if the whelp's too slow.
Very odd.
I love it. It's just stupid noise. He is going to put a lot into clearing this board.
And I think that's very justifiable. Like, this is the problem here for the Paladin is that it struggles to clear off boards like this. Even with a consecration, there's only 1 minion dying here.
Oh.
Whoa, we're looking at strong stuff happening now.
See, so it has to be Egg Hero Power now?
So what's the difference? If we see Ziliax Hero Power, that can clear off 1 of these minions.
The difference
which is not that strong.
Next turn, he
Yes.
could win the game.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
I'm just running through the ideas.
The idea in general being that now that the egg down, he can take. He can almost certainly, I think, every single time he can take this hit, this turn, and then next turn he can just do this again, but attach the Zilliax, and then heal, and then if they're killed, which they have to be killed because they have taunt, he gets an 8/8 for each egg that's killed that will have taunt.
Sure.
This is the part where the deck starts to look a little bit more impressive, because it starts to get almost impossible for your opponent to win the game.
Yeah, that Zilliax is really the core of everything that's happening here. Without that, this would just fall apart.
I've even seen some of them run, you know, the Lightforge Blessing.
Yeah.
Because for the same idea, right? You just want lifesteal on something, then you keep copying it over and over again.
And Alutemu here is saying, you know what? You haven't got the Zilliax because you need exactly that.
And he'll do it on the
pull
3/2
things
on the 3/2
Oh
to
yeah,
give it
I
a
mean,
good
look
kill.
at that. That's insane. You
Kill
kill
us.
off the 6/6.
Or maybe he wants more health on it, so he puts it on the 0/5 to make it a 3/7.
So what would that be? 3/7 and a 2/2. Like you could then still take out the 6/6. You just have to charge the micro on it as well. Like numbers get a little bit more awkward.
Well, you could take out the 6/6 anyway, right? Because he has 3 on one egg, 3 on the other. He just gets a
Oh, he's
8/8.
charging both eggs. Oh yeah, sorry.
Just trade both eggs in and
Sure.
then have the extra one just sit there.
Sure.
Oh, it's so nuts. A part of me is surprised Staz is taking this long. You don't want him. You don't want to this close. You can see the timer ticking down here in red now. Staz.
I think he's just wondering if there's any way he can get away with not playing it, and the answer is no. You have to play
100% play it.
Precision.
Yeah, James is saying you just want the health.
Yeah, boop boop. Then you've got an 8/8. And you've got
This
Divine
is
Shield,
strong.
Taunt, Lifesteal. And then if he kills them, you have 8/8s on the backswing. It's so sick. And yes, this doesn't happen every single game of Hearthstone, but it happens. Not this exactly, but a lot of this happens reasonably often.
However, we are now looking at
Can you get through
Alutemu
it?
1 damage off lethal
Because of exactly
because
the
of
way Starfall
exactly what
works.
Starfall does. That's insane.
But if he...
And I think he has to go for that and say, you don't have exactly Kangor's
Kangor's.
endless army.
Or, to be fair, a right now in hand at least, or even a Noya module.
Annoying module
Because
works
that
as well.
would,
Yeah,
you know, you
fair
suddenly
enough.
you've got a 10-12 taunt deck.
So what are we looking at now in terms of mechs that have died? There have been 4 micro mummies that have died.
2, 3 eggs.
3 eggs.
But the eggs...
2 of them had Zilliaxes attached to
Yeah.
it. 1 of them did not.
But they keep... oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Woo. Well,
So I think it is likely for at least 1 egg
is 1 egg enough?
with Zilliax to come back here. I think it would be enough. Because of all the 8/8s that can attack it.
Oh, he got 1. Spicy.
Tim is sitting back here and saying, well, okay, you had exactly the 2 cards you needed. And so now he
And
can
he makes
copy
another
it
egg.
as well.
Yeah, it's like,
Oh my
it
God,
never
this
ends.
is
I told
so
you,
close.
it never ends.
It is an endless army.
Yeah. Relevant. They were just building this card up for a storyline across multiple expansions.
Yeah, of course. It's endless because it has reborn.
Yeah. This deck's so silly.
This is very stupid. Yeah, you can punch through these with the 8/8s and then I guess use the 2 eggs to take out a 5/5. Whatever, he's overkilling no matter what he does.
Must move quickly.
But I think he should take out this with it. Yeah, either way, it doesn't really matter. I just want to see him making sure he gets the
The attack in this play is swipe lethal.
Right, so I don't think there's any card that can deliver lethal right now.
See, now there, this was Mali Quest Druid.
Fair enough.
Snare, it's not enough, and I just don't know what Alutemu does now.
Nourish. And then you find Starfall, second Starfall. Has that already been played? I don't think so.
Yeah, didn't you use it earlier?
So you played both of them?
Yeah, because remember, you said you can clear it with I thought he cleared the really wide board with Starfall when he made the little
Oh, yeah,
1/2s.
maybe.
Oh,
Oh, no. I
I'm
guess
telling a
not.
lie. It must have been. Oh, wait, he swiped, right?
Yeah.
I think he swiped.
which means we're now looking at
Zephyrus.
1 damage off of lethal. Zephyrus is not active. Again for Alutemu. This is heartbreakingly close for him.
What does he...
I mean, he's just dead if he goes for on the egg.
I mean, it's just, no, that's what I mean. Like, he has to clear...
Yeah.
Oh, but if he kills one, he makes another one because it kills the 2/2 egg. Unlucky. It's a horrible deck to play against, isn't it? Because you know once it hits this point, there's nothing you can do.
I mean, for Alutemu as well, I think he did exactly the right thing in saying, okay, you need Ziliax to have a chance here. He had it. And then he said, okay, you need Kangles to have a chance here as well.
GG.
Staz had both of them. And he just manages to win. Just.
That was a good game of Hearthstone.
That was a very cool game of Hearthstone.
Yeah, and the deck is just crazy, and that was
very
roughly
cool.
my experience when I played against it on ladder. Is that I feel so close, and the Paladin laughs at me as I realize I'm actually so far away. It just heals all the way back up.
Yeah, I think it's to me at least, a cursory glance, it feels like it's going to struggle to a lot of the same things that Death Rattle Rogue has struggled to along the way, where it can do disgustingly powerful things, especially when Cube was in rotation and you had the Necrian Blade. The power spikes it had was so high, but on average it felt like it was too reliant on 1 or 2 cards. Like, for example, with this deck, I feel like without Ziliax being drawn, you just die way too much of the time. It's very difficult to put up a defensive wall that's strong enough to survive against the aggro decks.
Yeah, it definitely normally falls down to Ziliax or the Guardians, because if you play Guardian on 4 because you heal for normally 8 against aggro, that's like a long heal or a big heal over the course of 2 turns.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a tough one. It's definitely not, I don't think it's top tier, it's going to break the game or anything, but it's definitely an awkward deck that, as you can see, has like, it made Alutemu not play Warrior, right? Which is is that just worth a spot in your lineup?
Very possible.
Your opponent, wants to shield Warrior and play it, and then they just can't because you might keep Paladin and just win. And you can see with that the whelps, and bear in mind that you could play way slower versus Warrior. How do they stop like 1,000,000 eggs? It's impossible. It's crazy. But we've got another match coming right up, we might actually. I thought we were having an interview with Staz, and we're just not.
Yeah, I think
That's
it's he's actually away, I believe, competing. I can't remember the exact name in the tournament with Gia to vie to be the representative for the Philippines, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, which does actually make a lot of sense because his background was clearly not his
different.
bedroom; it was clearly an arena. But anyway, let's move on.